Mr. Terry Leighton, thank you for flying over to Melbourne and joining me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, mate, we touched on this before on your Mondays and stuff when prices are coming out. Can you talk me through your week? How does that look like?
Okay, so Mondays is review day. Well, the first half of Monday is
just
review day.
Just looking at Saturday's races?
I go back. Most of the time I haven't actually looked at the Wednesday or the Thursday from the week before. Yep. So I have the data sent through. I said I don't do data, but I get some data through Vince Accardi.
Yep.
I'm more interested in, sometimes it's hard to quantify who ran the quickest last twos, fours, how fast they actually went. We often think they've walked in horse races. There was one the other week where there was a surprise leader, special choice, and a few other punters I know messaged me saying, how slowly do they go? Why did that happen? And we get the data and they went 4 or 5 above benchmark for the first third of the race. So that type of data comes through and enables me to analyse the race. And I think if any aspect was important, whether it's the reviewing of the meet or previewing of the upcoming meet, I think the most important aspect is the reviewing of the meet.
I hear that from so many pros.
Just by an absolute country mile. So you come up with, there's things, and if you wait too long to review the meet, or if you're doing a replay from a horse where the race ran 2 weeks ago, you don't completely remember the pattern of that day. You don't completely remember what happened. There's things which are fresh in your mind which you need to get down and remember why that may have been unlucky.
Yeah.
Or there's often horses don't appear in stewards reports, and it's quite incredible that they don't. And that's where a lot of value lies, because a lot of people that create the markets and then that we bet into early, they really rely on those stewards reports. So after that, Monday we create basically a document just goes to myself. It's just probably, as I said before, about 10, 15 pages long.
It's a Word doc or you're writing it out?
It's an email to myself.
Okay.
No, I'm old school. So I just figured out how to turn on my computer by myself. And
you just bank that? You just folder it?
I've just downloaded this app called Uber as well. Have you heard of that one?
They're going all right.
I email it to myself. That's it. Yeah, I email it to myself. Okay. So it's just in my inbox.
All right. And then what, straight into Wednesday's meet?
Yes. So basically straight into Wednesday's meet. So I'll do Wednesday on a Monday afternoon. As I said, each race takes about an hour or so. I look at a speed map in every race, but I call it potential speed.
You create that yourself?
Yeah, and I like to get in the head of the people. You can say this led last start, this led last start, this did whatever, but you want to get into the head of the trainers themselves. And I think that's an aspect a lot of people don't look at. So a horse is continually going back, running on nicely. Think about, as an owner, a lot of people will be owners, and you know that eventually you get fed up with paying the bills and running on into third or running on into fourth. Yeah. You know that they were going to say, let's go forward today. Let's try and go forward. So I like to try and get into the head of the trainers and the connection thing. What are they going to actually do here? Yeah, obviously the obvious move on paper is do what they did last start, ran on well, but are they happy with another third or fourth? So create my maps, what I think it's going to look like. Look at how the back markers will get card ups into races, if it'll suit. And then basically each horse I think's a chance of winning. I just basically discuss with myself, best person to talk to, pros and cons in a little paragraph about the horse, and then I create a market. And my market is basically dialed out to 100%, but it's when I feel it looks right and it feels right, and I'd be happy betting into a price above that. Okay. Basically, and that's it.
And then how much do you need to see in the market? Like, the early corporate market might be 10% better than your price, 20% better. How much do you need?
There's no fixed amount. There's one running during the week that I've marked $3.30. It's $1.80. So every other horse is above the market. So I often say, and I've told you this off air before, I'm probably the most unprofessional professional punter in the world. People say, what's a unit stake? And I go, well, it depends. I mean, I personally punt with sort of a model of the Kelly criterion. Okay. If I feel I'm getting value, I'll have the same amount on a $20 pop that I will on a $2.80 pop.
Nice. Yeah.
It means my biggest strength is probably being able to lose.
Yeah.
I'm really okay with losing over a long period of time, knowing that the win will come. I'm happy with major fluctuations, knowing that overall it trends in the right direction. Yeah. And that can be really difficult for someone just starting up because...
the variance is soul crippling.
It's not even just variance, it's probably belief and self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like I've done it for so long now that I'm willing to see a downturn knowing that when it does go up, it only takes 1 or 2 races really for things to trend in that direction. But going back to your question, so I will complete all that. Markets come out. Monday night. That'll all be done Monday night because markets come out early Tuesday. I'm not big on getting up too early, to be honest, James.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the rare perks.
One of the perks.
Yeah, one of the rare perks. The majority of my betting these days is done on the exchange late, which is a changing climate for me as my bank basically increases. I bet more. I sort of try to bet no more than 1% of my bank per race.
Okay.
And as that sort of increases, I need to look at new ways to be able to get on, because I can no longer get on for my full stake early on. So it means probably being happier with a lower ROI for the year than what I've been going at in the past, but with higher turnover, a lower ROI should hopefully still result in an upward curve, hopefully.
Yeah, got ya. So let's talk about that. In terms of your exchange betting, is that just in the last couple of minutes? Well, because the market's changed so much from when you've smacked the corporates early on Monday night to when they're racing on Wednesday afternoon, like, do you end up backing 3 or 4 horses in a race because of that market movement, or what happens there?
Yeah, I often do. It's difficult in that sense. You really like one and you've marked it 270 and it's 240 late on the exchange. And again, this is probably where I'm not the most professional, but I will still probably want to top my bet off to some degree. So I like to think, what am I averaging it out at?
Okay.
So if I've taken, and that's probably a mistake. To be honest, that's probably something I could probably do a little bit better. I've taken the 320 early. I'm taking the 240 late for the second half, so I'm averaging 280 basically. So that's how I'm sort of allow it, or just sort of tell myself it's okay. But I definitely do back a lot late. But it's also, I think the key thing on Betfair, and as I said, this is about knowing trainers and not knowing trainers, but knowing their betting habits and understanding how their stables work. I like to ask myself the question, why did that drift? Why is that a bigger price? If it's a small stable, a jockey that doesn't ride many in the city, doesn't have a good record, no issue with backing a drift. I like to back a drift because there isn't some stables, if they drift, that's not good. That's bad, because they're obviously predominantly betting
stable
stables.
orientated. That decision is based on the size and how much they bet.
Heavily based on that. So
Okay, and then just going through the rest of the week. So Wednesday we're watching the market, we're betting again, probably doing a bit of prep for Thursday as well.
Thursday prep's done Tuesday.
Okay.
So Thursday prep's done Tuesday. It's basically just a continuous cycle in that sense. My day off is Friday. So Wednesday we do the racing will be occurring while I'll be trying to do the Saturday form, but it's hard to. I'm not huge at multitasking. I'm a typical male, probably, in that sense. So Wednesdays can tend to be maybe a 9 a.m. start till, on occasion, a midnight finish, I guess. Wednesdays, it can be a very long day. Not many Tinder dates on Wednesdays, James, unfortunately.
All business.
All business on Wednesdays, if I want to have any success on Saturday. But Friday's the day where I try to sort of unwind as best I can. Because Thursday you've already done Saturday. And then Saturday morning through till 2 o'clock, roughly when the markets come out for the Sunday. That's when I'll try and do Sunday.
Okay.
So,
wow. There's a fair bit there.
There is, It's it'll be very interesting in the coming period, the coming climate of the world. How I sort of feel that time and what comes up.
Well, let's touch on this. We're in the middle of the coronavirus. We're probably a bit too close for ScoMo's recommendations here. But how are you going to handle that? If WA turn the tap off and there's no more racing in a couple of weeks, potentially, no reason to suggest that being the case, apart from some of the discussions that are happening. How do you think you're going to occupy yourself over a couple of months?
I was going to ask you if you wanted to hang out a bit more, to be honest, mate. I don't really know. Like, there's no real easy answer for that, apart from the fact that I won't be able to earn money, basically, for a period of time. And this is one of the heavy negatives. I guess we're not going to have too many, hopefully we're not going to have too many pandemics in our lifetime that we have to deal with. But for a period of time, I won't be able to do a great deal. I'm working on a podcast at the moment, so we'll try and keep people entertained with some interviewing trainers, jockeys, maybe some old punting stories in that sense.
Sounds great.
I want to work on the data The data side of things is really growing, and I've got a lot of close mates who are heavy data punters purely. I can see advantages from what they do. But I think the most important thing for me is never to change the way I do it. I think if I tried to be a data punter, I'd start losing. I'd lose my edge. So I think the most important thing if you want to get into punting and try and do it full time is find out what works for you, because everybody has sort of a different strength, and it's so varied.
And do you get asked that a bit these days? Like, people, not in the particular climate, but people reaching out to you, how do you become a pro punter? What sort of recommendations do you give people that are interested? And even if it's just a part-time income in the game, where do you think people should start?
Probably figuring out what your strength is and figuring out if you're you want to do it purely not just for the money.
Right.
You have to really, really enjoy what you do. Like, if you're working full time and you can't obviously start punting just from scratch because it's going to be a battle. But I think you've got to be willing to go home from work and dedicate the time to learning your craft. Most important thing is for me, I love watching horse replays. I love picking up on little nuances that maybe other people hadn't. But probably discipline is probably the most important thing. You might really think this thing is a good thing, but I mean, if you're going to market $2.20, you simply can't take. And I've just said that I did just 2 seconds ago. You simply can't be taking $1.80 as your average price for the bet type thing, because overall, we all work at anywhere from 10 to 20% profit margin type thing. And if you're taking 10, 20% under your price, the profit margin's gone instantly. So it's basically just finding what works for you. Everybody's different.
So speaking to that discipline, how did you was that just something that came naturally, or you just knew?
The spreadsheet, that was the most important thing I ever did. Right. Accountability changes when you think to yourself, oh yeah, I might have had a pretty good day. I think I went all right. The accounts went up. But spreadsheet accountability, where every single thing you place goes on a spreadsheet. It allows you to record, do you have more success at certain tracks, more success with favourites, roughies, each way? Should I be betting each way? Should I just be betting win only? That's one of the big things I'm going through at the moment. I'm moving all of my betting to win only unless I'm convinced. I basically look at the win and the place as two separate entities. So backing your horse today at Ascot Northern River, and it's about 10 to 1 type thing. It's a back market run on horse. For me, the $10 is a good price, but if they're not running on, the $2.80 for the place as a separate entity, that's not a good bet. So, different aspects of that nature have become quite important.
Okay. What else have I got before we finish up, mate? Something that's a bit challenging, which you faced firsthand, was writing content for us on the hub and tipping. I think anyone that is sharp enough and does this for a living is happy enough losing their own money or having a fill up, but giving mates tips or putting it with your name on it, putting it on a hub is pretty, can be emotionally stressful, more so than your own back pocket. How do you find that, and how do you sort of contemplate, the responsibility, I suppose?
I think you've said that really well. I think you've described that extremely well. I can watch a race where I've got a huge amount on, my biggest bet for the year on, and I'm okay. It doesn't really faze me that much, and then I might have tipped something on the hub which doesn't actually get to my price, so I don't actually have anything on. And I'm riding that more. Maybe it's part of my personality to some degree. I'm not too sure, but I love tipping. I really do, and I love deciphering why a horse is going to win and sharing it with the public. But the actual the tipping side of things and putting your name to something, it is highly stressful. There's no real other way to put it, to be honest. I love doing it, but I do definitely I ride them very strongly once I've tipped them online. So
yeah, it's hard. And just speaking to the bad variance, I suppose, like whether it's tipping or just your own back pocket, how do you have we spoke about this briefly, but just what's the process in having the confidence to know that you know what you're doing? Is that because you're so professional, disciplined in your approach, or is it because you've had so much success? Like, how do you have the confidence to know, hey, I've been stiff here, but I'm going to be fine. I need to stick to the process?
Confidence is key, over a period of time. I guess the most important thing is I've got now 6, 7, 8 years of data behind me, and it hasn't been, you can fluke it for a year, maybe you can fluke it for a year or two, but over a period of time, you realise what you're doing is working. One of my strengths is being overconfident. One of my strengths is declaring these. If that gets beaten, I'll declare something 2 weeks later, but my strength is not being defeated and not giving up. But the key to that is longevity and data. So for someone starting up, that's, as I said, that's the hardest part about doing this, is because you don't have that data behind you. I can only gather that if you are beginning or you think you can make it as a punter, you've had some success on the punt in the past. So, I mean, my biggest advice would be bet to a bank that you can sustain for a period of time. If you have a bad month to begin with, 2 bad months. A friend of mine had kept his data for a few years, 2 losing months to kick off after he quit his job, and he was just tearing his absolute hair out. He stuck with it, and now he's successful, and now he's going really well. So my biggest advice would be, don't just judge it on your first month or two, and bet to an amount where you can afford, obviously, and you can sustain for a period of time to see if it'll work.
Beautiful. All right, mate. Plenty for punters to take away from this. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to Melbourne. And thanks again, Tez. And lots of stuff on the hub. Anytime you want to get Terry, we humbug him for content on the hub. So keep popping back there.